Hello, everybody, and you're all very welcome to our webinar this month, Move for Your Mental Health, the Benefits of Activity. So this is in partnership with Midwest Aries. My name is Cillian. I am the Development Officer working with Mental Health Ireland. So I cover Clare, Limerick and North Tipperary, previously working with Midwest Aries Recovery Education Service. So it's nice to be doing the webinars on a very, I suppose, important topic around activity, physical movement, and I have a really good range of panelists today on the webinar, and I'll get them to introduce themselves in a second. So I suppose the outline of today's webinar, which will be an hour long, so we'll be finished up around 3 o'clock, is we're going to learn about different types of activity that can help support our mental health. We'll explore simple ways to stay active, lift your mood, and reduce stress, and then look at the simple daily activity things that we can do that can make a difference to our overall health and well-being. So with that, like I was saying, the webinar will be an hour long. There will be plenty of time for discussion throughout. There is a Q&A button at the bottom of your screen where you can start inputting questions throughout or at the start, whatever you feel comfortable with. And hopefully we'll, as a panel, we'll be able to get to all of the questions that we ask throughout. So this is also be recorded on the Midwest Aries YouTube channel and the Wellness panel as well. Their podcast links, all the links will be sent out to you after in a follow-up email. And yeah, I'm looking forward to the discussion. I'll just stop the share now. And hopefully I've covered everything there. We'll have a good discussion, and I just invite the panelists, Gina, Emer, and Sarah, just to turn on their camera and to say hello. Thanks, Vinny. You're all very welcome. So Gina, I might start with yourself, if that's okay. Just a little introduction, if that's all right. Thanks a million.
Thanks, Cillian. Hi, everyone. So I'm Gina Delaney, and I'm Development Officer with Mental Health Ireland, and I cover the Southeast. So that's the down in the sunny Southeast. We can safely say that today. So sunny everywhere. So Kilkenny, Carlow, Waterford, Wexford, and South Tipperary. It's all kind of in relation to mental health promotion, I guess, in various formats. Luckily I love the work I do, and I get to work with amazing people and do amazing things like today. So thanks for having us.
Brilliant. Thanks, Cillian, Gina. And Sarah, I'll go to yourself next.
Thanks, Cillian. So my name is Sarah Fahy, and I'm also a development officer, and I cover Galway City and County. So not quite as many counties as Gina here, but it's really exciting to be here today, and I'm looking forward to the conversation.
Great. Thanks, million, Sarah. Appreciate it. And Emer, I'll go with yourself. Thanks.
Thanks, Cillian. Hi, everyone. I'm Emer McFadden. I'm also a Development Officer with Mental Health Ireland, and I cover Sligo and Leitrim. So I'm really looking forward to the conversation today.
Brilliant. Thanks a million, Emer. And just a reminder of when someone's speaking, just make sure the panelists are muted as well. That'd be great, because just with the recording, it'll follow the camera. So that'll be great. So I suppose we'll kick off just on the topic. And I'll throw out the first question. And Sarah, I might go to yourself first, if that's all right. So are there any forms of activity that come to mind that can benefit our mental health? So yeah, I'll go to yourself. Thanks, Sarah.
Thanks, Cillian. I suppose I like to think of activity in two parts, maybe, general kind of movement, and then more kind of structured exercise and physical fitness. So I suppose for me, movement that helps my own mental health is simple walking, really. I think that's something we can incorporate into our lives. And in terms of, I suppose, more structured exercise, I really like to swim in the sea. So that's kind of where I get that maybe more resistance challenger, for want of a better word. So yeah.
That's brilliant, Sarah. And what nice mix there. So especially the sea swimming, it's something I don't regularly do. Something I would love to do, really, but I'm more at the pool at the moment. But again, something to strive for. Like you said, it brings up that resistance as well, and it's nice for our overall well-being. So yeah, thanks for that. Gina, I might come to yourself on the question. Thank you.
Yeah, so I probably would have found resistance in a different way, resistance, I suppose, towards exercise or structured exercise myself. But now I find that I love I'm an inland creature because I'm in Kilkenny, like, so we don't have access to the sea too easily. It's a big, long kind of almost once a year, like going to the beach. But we've a river nearby, and I'm actually going down there this evening to meet up with friends. So yeah, we get into the river and it's just lovely. We've a lovely kind of vibrant rural community here where I live. So like there's a little running group as well. And so we get to meet up kind of once a week or maybe twice a week. And that's lovely. And then there's a little community hall then, like, a little further away, and we go down and have the most beautiful yoga instructor. So that'd be kind of my cornerstones then, apart from like, the dog walks and that. But for me, it tends to be the connection with other people, as well as that kind of internal, like just connecting with yourself. Like, yeah.
That's brilliant, Gina. A nice mix there again of different activities, again, walking and the sea swim or the river as well. It's actually really good. It's just a broad range that people can maybe dip into from time to time. Excuse the pun with the river, but yeah, it's lovely. It's lovely to hear, and yeah, fair play. Emer, I'll go to yourself next. That's right.
Yeah, I suppose just following on from what Gina said about the connection piece. So for me, that physical activity, I think I get a lot more from it when I'm doing it with a group. So a couple of years ago, I actually joined our local Mothers and Others GA group. So I haven't gone back this year just for a few reasons, but prior to this, it was great fun, like getting to know other people. I suppose everyone was in kind of similar situations in terms of commitment and being available. So there wasn't the same pressure of that if you missed a week that you felt that, you were gone backwards or you were losing out. So I've really enjoyed that piece. And then I think walking has always just been a staple for me. I'll use it not just for my movement, but I think it's great just for getting out and clearing your head. I'm definitely, now that the weather is starting to pick up again and the longer and brighter days, trying to create some better habits around that. Just I think getting out and going for a walk, whether it be at lunchtime or when you finish up for the evening, just kind of clear the space, clear your head, clear everything out of it, and get ready for a new day.
That's excellent, Emer, and it kind of leads us nicely. I know you mentioned connections. Gina did as well, and I suppose the walks, clearing the head and whatnot. It leads us nicely into the next question I'm going to ask, and is how does activity impact on our mood? So, Gina, I might go to yourself next if that's okay, and then Emer, I'll go to yourself then Sarah. Thanks.
Yeah, well, I definitely think, like, say, I suppose there can be benefits, isn't it? Whether you're with people or whether you're on your own, I feel like there can be really good benefits to your mood. Like, that if I'm on my own, like I could go out and I could have the stress of the whole world on my shoulders. Like, you could be worrying about this, that, or the other, and all the jobs you have to get done, and maybe other people in your family, whatever it might be. And you go off for a walk, even if it's on your own, and like, just like kind of, I think it's that mindfulness, like, and it's being present with nature and just what that can do for you, like, just even like birds at this time of the year and what they're doing, and just like tapping into that can take you out of whatever the worries are that you're experiencing. And it doesn't fix them, it doesn't change them, and nor should it minimize them, like, but it just has that ability to put things into perspective and to bring in maybe a bigger picture in as well into the equation, and that in itself can help. And then I suppose if you're with somebody else, you have the benefit or the bonus of being able to maybe kind of just kind of to and fro. If you have a particular issue, you can just maybe talk it out, or even not talk about it, but just be distracted by whatever's going on in their world, So that's, I suppose, one of the things that comes to mind.
Yeah, that's really good, Gina. I think you're talking about two aspects, like maybe group activity, maybe, and then going for walks on your own as well, which is lovely. Just to, again, that headspace and just to take time for ourselves, because we can be so busy in the day to day that we can get stressed out by different things. But just having that time for ourselves, just to walk in nature or whatever it looks like, or by the sea or whatever it is. So that's really good. That, like you said, it gives you perspective. So I like that. Any thoughts on that, Emer? I'll go to yourself next. Thanks.
Yeah, look, I suppose definitely for me with activity, whether it be the solo piece or the group piece, there'll be times before I go where I'm like, oh my God, I don't have the time for this. Where do I fit it in? I could be doing something else. but I've never come back from an activity regretting that I've gone. I think it's always been really good. It's released some sort of emotion from my body, whether it be the frustration, anger, happy, sad, but it's definitely had a release. And I definitely come back in the door home a little bit lighter. And as Gina said, like, it doesn't necessarily mean that things go away or change, but I think you just feel lighter and you can take that step back and be like, okay, this is how I progress, or this is where I'm going to go. Or maybe you won't even feel like that, but you just feel that little bit lighter. So I definitely think it does have a huge impact on our mood. It can really releases endorphins, I think, definitely. And kind of can either set you up for a restful evening, or if it's early in the morning, sets you up for a good day.
Yeah, absolutely. Emer, that's great. Starting the day off well or ending the evening fairly well as well with exercise or movement or whatever it looks like for the person. So that's great. Sarah, I'll go to yourself.
Thanks. Yeah, just to kind of go back to what both Emer and Gina said there with the social connection, you know, that protective factor for our mental well-being is great. But also I was just thinking when Emer there said about the endorphins, you know, that kind of physiological response that happens when we move. So the dopamine, the serotonin, kind of lowering the cortisol and all that happens within our body that we're not really aware of, you know. When we move, it's kind of nice to understand that too, what's actually happening for your mental health when you move, I think. And I'm really interested in, I suppose, the link. We were speaking about social connection, but also maybe your own self-belief, your confidence, your self-concept, that kind of stuff. I'm really interested in that link between that and physical activity. So looking at, you know, trying new things. So, you know, I myself have never played, let's say, basketball. I'm going to go back and do that soon, like terrified. But at the same time, you know, I think kind of building those new skills, learning something new, that kind of, you know, mastery or, you know, looking towards a goal can really help your self-confidence as well. So
yeah, I like that because trying something new, definitely there's a fear factor to it as well. A new group, a new organization, or whatever it is in a club or whatever it may be. But the benefits outweigh the negatives, I'm sure, when you do get started and you get stuck in as well. So I really like that, Sarah. So thanks for that. Just to pause for a second, if there's any, I know there's a few attendees, if there's any questions you want to ask now, please do, and hopefully we'll be able to get to them throughout the webinar. So with the next question is, does activity always have to be intense to benefit our mental health? So sometimes some people look at activity as maybe just going to the gym, really long, intensive workouts or whatever it may be, but I'll just throw it out there to yourselves. And Emer, will I start with yourself this time, if that's okay?
Yeah, no problem. So I'd say no, I don't think it always has to be intense, but I think it depends on the individual. So and what's going on for you at that moment when you're doing your activity. So, you know, like if you're going for a walk, some days you really want to like up that pace and you have a goal that you're there and back, and it's a personal goal for you. So you'll put it all into it and you'll come back from it feeling really good. But another day you might want to go for that walk and it's just literally to be out in nature, to be mindful in the space. So it doesn't need to be the same intensity. So I think a lot of the time it's to do with the individual, and it's also to do with the time for that individual, whether they want to, you know, whether they need it to be an intense workout, if that's what's going to give them that release of endorphins to make them that feel good, or whether really they're just looking for that more relaxed, clearing their headspace.
Really good. It just, I suppose, depends on the day or depends on the person as well. So yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I don't think it's a case of you can say yes or no, because there'll be times it'll fluctuate for you.
Yeah,
Definitely.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Emer. Sarah, I'll go to yourself. That's it.
yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking too. And I suppose not to exclude half of the population, but women, especially during, you know, menstrual cycles or menopause, I think it's really important to tune into that as well in terms of the activity you do to help, you know, your mental health at that time. Yeah, so that's just kind of something I thought about there.
Excellent, Sarah. Really important. Sorry, Gina, were you going to come in there?
But
Yeah,
you know,
go for
I
it.
was just gonna say like that, yeah, like I think it does depend on what your goal is, isn't it? Like, you know, if I'm experiencing a lot of different barriers, or like, yeah, like depending on like kind of what my mindset is, or how my physical or mental health is, or, you know, whatever, like depending on where I'm at in life, like, you know, I may or may not feel able for certain things. Like, so like if we were all to sit here and say, You know, absolutely. Like, you know, the more intense the exercise is, the better the benefits are. Well, like that would rule out a lot of people then from kind of taking part, isn't it? Like, so, and I know myself, like, you know, if I was to apply what I just said there, depending on my mood and how I'm feeling in my body, you know, emotionally, mentally, physically, different activities will benefit me on any given day. Like, so going down and having just a gentle dip in the river can give me as much as, you know, maybe 40 minutes running around a track, because it depends on what I need on any given day. Like,
Yeah, and energy levels as well, I suppose, and just I suppose how you're feeling in the moment as well, because I think the motivation can be dipping from time to time. My own experience as well of trying to get an activity, but then I just look at what can benefit me the most, and maybe doing a quick stretch on the floor or maybe a 5 minute walk that'll get me moving in some shape or form. So definitely relate to that. And even you said about the goals as well, Gina, having something to strive for, maybe like a mini goal that you can achieve over 6 to 12 weeks or something like that. So yeah. Are we happy enough on that question, or any final thoughts before we move on?
well, I suppose it doesn't, like, sometimes, like, and it depends again on what level of resistance. Like, I just happen to be born with a lot of resistance, like, you know, to things. But like, you know, even say in the running club, and I say sometimes they'd be laughing at me, like, you know, because they might say, well, we do a time trial for ourselves now, and I was saying, no, why? I don't need to do a time trial. I'm here because I know that, you know, I feel like hell when I'm running around the track, but I know afterwards I'm going to feel great, like, you know. So that's why I'm here. I'm not here because I want to do the next half marathon or full marathon, like, you know. And that's me, and that's what my goal is. My goal is to turn up, have a laugh with nice people going around the track, and feel like I've done something good for myself. I've got out, got a bit of vitamin D, and, you know, like, just, I suppose, got more oxygen in my body, enjoyed that time. And my goal is not to do a marathon, but that's okay, because my goal is to turn up every week, so I'm still winning, you know.
Really good, Gina. And do you think there's pressure then from others then if a lot of people are doing it for time or whatever else? Do you think there's pressure, or you're just being yourself and you're saying how it is that you want to just do it for your
Mm.
mental health or well-being benefits? Do you think there's pressure from others maybe around maybe activity, get
I'd say
involved?
sometimes there can be, I suppose, talk, like, you know, like kind of just general talk, like not within the running group, but I just mean in general, like, you know, about, like, you know, having to maybe go aim for the next big thing, like, you know. But the next big thing could be you turning up next week, like, you know. So like, I think we really kind of have to just, you know, pare it back and leave space for people to have extremely different goals, and but extremely valid, you know, despite that. Yeah.
Yeah. Any thoughts, Sarah and Emer, on that?
Yeah, you
Sarah, I thought you, Emer,
definitely.
yeah, sorry, perfect.
Sorry, no, sorry
Go
about
for it.
that.
Yeah, go for it, Emer. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with Gina. I think there can be a lot of pressure that, you know, you achieve one goal in whatever it is you're doing. So whether it be running or swimming or whatever, and then there's that you have to move on to the next. So like, well, I've got to 5K, well, now I have to get to 10K, and then I have to get a faster time each time, rather than actually really acknowledging that your goal is, as Gina just said, I've turned up every week, I've done it. Okay, I mightn't have enjoyed it while I was doing it because I'm like, oh, is this ever going to end? But I know at the end, actually, you know, I've met up with nice people. I feel great that I've done it. And that's actually such a huge achievement. And I don't think as a society we put enough acknowledgement on that. There's an awful lot of focus and acknowledgement shifted over to progression. What's the next thing? And even in the conversations we have with people, I've only recently had one with somebody who was saying, oh, I've just completed my 10K and I got under, I can't remember the time, but I know it was a good time. They said, and they're like, I need now to move to below this, rather than actually living in the moment of I've done this and that's been a huge achievement. And so I think that's a big thing that we need to look at in terms of our activity.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I think what's that? Is it like comparison to others, trying to strive for something else after they've achieved something, or is it just general, I need to do something else now? Or what do you think, Emer, just to tie on what you're saying about the
I do think it's, I think if people actually stopped and thought about it, do I actually want to do this for me because it's something I really want to achieve? Or is it something that's expected of me because this is what everyone's talking about? And I think, Gina, it's great that you say what you were saying about with the time trials. No, like that's not what I want. I think that's probably a minority of voice a lot of times in situations like that. And it's a shame because really it should be an equal voice. But there just seems to be, I don't know, is it a thing we take in externally and then we're all building on it, or is it only for certain people? But definitely it's a culture that's there, unfortunately. And then it ends up ruling a lot of people out who, you know, might get to a point to be like, yeah, I'm happy here, I'm just going to keep going. But because the noise around them is, oh, we have to progress and we have to do it faster, we have to do it longer, they end up going, no, I don't actually want to do this, and they step back. And then they're feeling annoyed and disappointed in themselves for stepping back, when really the support and encouragement should have been there for them to be like, yeah, you got to this goal, that's fantastic, keep going, you're doing brilliant, you're exactly where you need to be.
Really good. I really like that. Thanks, Emer, for sharing that. Sarah, you were going to come in as well, were you? Just on.
Yeah, no, just on that, just kind of for, I suppose, the difference between, yeah, those goal-oriented kind of movements or exercises or activities and the participation. You know, we kind of see it lots now in young, I'm just talking about younger generations, and seeing that encouragement up until a point, and then, you know, it changes into this kind of crazy competition that is kind of hard to move away from. So I think, to just as Emer and Gina said, to kind of keep it at that, and I'm sure we'll touch on it later, to kind of, if you enjoy it, you really just should keep going with it, you know, and invest that time for yourself, and I suppose for meeting others and improving those relationships and social connection as a result, you know.
Yeah, brilliant, Sarah. Yeah, it's looking at what we want as an individual rather than following the crowd of, oh, I have to do this for a certain time. I think it's just what we need to do for our health and well-being to make just enhance it as well, you know. So that's really good. I really like that piece of discussion. So it leads us nicely onto some of the barriers of activity. So what are some of the barriers that stop people from being more active is the question. Gina, will I go to yourself first, if that's all right?
Yeah, so I'm going to say two of them anyways, and I like, well, okay, well, confidence. Confidence can be a big barrier, isn't it? Like, you know, we can get in our own way for in so many ways, and it can be very easy to get in our own way and say, oh, I'm not good enough, or, you know, everyone else is faster, or they're better at teamwork, or they understand the rules better, whatever it is, or, you know, I'm too big, or I'm too this, or I'm too whatever. So you know, like, but I suppose, yeah, like, and what can you do about that then? Because like a huge amount of us, I'd say everybody, I'd say every human being will struggle with their confidence from time to time. So I suppose, like, you know, personal development is a great thing. Like, you know, if you do feel like you're struggling with your confidence for any reason, to just see like, well, what can I do about it? Because you know, I suppose it is a really positive thing if we can identify something. Okay, so I feel like my confidence is a bit low in this area. Is there something that I can do? And just like, there's so many books out there, like, you know, even if you never spoke to a counselor or spoke to a friend or a family member about it, there's so many books. Or, you know, you can go on, you can do like a free course online, you can sign up to recovery colleges, or, you know, anything, just to find out like, well, what can I do to improve my confidence, and to maybe just work on myself so that I'm equipping myself with a bit more kind of confidence around taking part in something. And then I suppose I'm going to say money. Like, as boring as that might sound, money actually is a factor in people being able to take part or not being able to take part in things. And like, yeah, running is free, of course it is, but like people are turning up wearing like expensive, like, you know, like kind of like a kit or whatever, like, you know, wearing like runners, wearing like, you know, the all the kind of up-to-date brands and all the rest of it. You also have to pay your membership, blah blah blah. Like, so I'm lucky that I work and I have a job and I'm able to fund, like, you know, doing, like, even though running is not like technically an expensive sport, like, you know, but it still costs money. Or like, just to take part in anything. And I'm only referencing myself because I suppose I know I can pull on that knowledge of what things cost, and I know what it takes for my kids to take part in activities as well. Like, you know, so like, I'm lucky, I'm in full-time employment, and I'm able to fund what I need to fund. But I also remember what it's like to not have money. And I know that a lot of people don't have access to, you know, like kind of having spare cash lying around to be able to take part. So I suppose, you know, it is a barrier for people, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, Gina. It's a massive barrier. And is there any kind of solutions, maybe just on that topic, even around what you're mentioning, like any kind
I
of
think
free resources or anything, or any
Yeah, like
Groups or anything at all? Yeah, perfect.
I think like I suppose, yeah, like to go along like to different groups or activities that you still can take part in. I don't think like, like I suppose, look, there's no point in me saying it doesn't matter what you're wearing, because that's all well and good if I'm not the person that feels self-conscious, isn't it? Like, so I don't know if I can solve that for people, but I would like to maybe on kind of social impact, like, or social changes. I always raise these issues at different groups, like, or where there might be funders present, like that. To take part in society isn't free, like, and we should be really conscious of that. And like, I know there's lots of groups like the leader partnerships are great, like, and they try to fund different activities. The sports partnerships are brilliant. Again, they try to provide free activities for people. So I think as change makers in society, people like us in roles like this should always bring it to the table as well and try and influence that way.
Brilliant, Gina. Thanks for that. That's great. Emer, I'll go to yourself next. Thanks.
Yep, no problem.
What's on the barriers?
Yeah, so I suppose, like, I live in a rural community, so one of the things that I always think about is accessibility to facilities. So like, if you're not into, so like where I live, obviously you can do the free things like going for a walk, or if you want to go for a run by yourself. And then it's the more Gaelic football is the option in terms of activity, which is fine. I've joined those activities myself. But if that's not for somebody, maybe if there is something like they want to try Pilates or yoga or, sea swimming or swimming in a pool, the accessibility to those services really can impact somebody getting involved and being more active and in finding the activity that brings them joy. Because like, as much as important it is for us to be physically active, it also has to be something we like doing, because otherwise we're not going to do it. So, some people, it could be their worst thing to think about, I have to go for a walk now, or I have to go for a run now. So I think that can be a huge barrier depending on where you're living. Obviously, if you're in a more urban area, there can be more options, but then there's the other side, there's more people, so getting into those places then can be also hard. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. And the other barrier that I was thinking of, and I know Sarah briefly touched on it a few minutes ago, is I suppose in terms of for women and our health, and that can, like obviously we have our cycles every month, and then we move into perimenopause and menopause, and all of that can really impact your activity and your mobility. And that's something I suppose that isn't given enough airtime at times. Because there's no, you see it even in girls' sports where it is competitive, like we take the soccer, the Gaelic, the rugby, whatever it might be, athletics. There's no time given or allocation really thought of for, the girls may not be able to perform at their best because, there's something that's very natural going on within their body, but it has an impact on how they perform. And so that can then really can turn off a young girl or a woman off doing an activity because, they feel like I'm not able to perform and it's expected of me.
Really interesting, Emer. And do you think any kind of solutions or any what can be done more around promotion, maybe, or any ideas? Just when you're on the spot now, or anything?
Yeah, no, you're right. So I suppose in terms of we're looking at women's health, like I definitely think there just needs to be some more open conversations around it in general. It's not in clubs, it's not a topic of conversation. I know there's a lot of talk at the moment around period poverty and like having supplies available locally in communities and clubs, which is fantastic. And maybe that's the stepping stone, but I definitely think it's about having more of that open conversation to make people more aware of it and that this is actually a real challenge. And for girls and women not to be afraid to put their hand up to say, I'm actually not able at the moment, I'm feeling really low, my energy is low, and this is why. And for that to be accepted and understood. In terms of accessibility, I mean, I don't think I can solve that here today. That's funding and structure and whatnot. I wish I could. But I think in terms of the bit around women's health, there is a lot more conversation and discussion that can be had.
Brilliant.
Could I
Thanks.
just come in on
go
that?
for it, Gina,
yeah. I know I'm hearing a lot more on, like, say, on the radio or on talk shows and that, like, women in sports talking about the effect of their cycle on how they perform in sports, and it's just brilliant. Like, I think it is so important, and to draw on the strengths of our cycle as well, like when we're playing sports, and how, like, kind of that, at certain times that you can have more energy and that you can perform better, and like, you know, and then acknowledging, well, actually, I'm not feeling great today, like, you know, and not being afraid to say why, like, you know. So yeah, just wanted to, I suppose, just to acknowledge how important that is. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the honesty piece and just having those conversations around is really, really important. Sarah, were you going to come in there as well on this? Or
Yeah, I mean, I
perfect,
could
thanks,
talk
William.
about this all day, I
Yeah,
think.
perfect.
But yeah, I just think like that the solutions more so, I mean, you can't solve them one day, but you know, I think often with kind of topics like this, whether it be around menstrual health and activity or menopause and activity, you know, you'll see things like, you know, having the white shorts changed to black shorts, which is great for the girls, but it's quite tokenistic. You know, it needs to be, you know, there needs to be a policy around this in Sport Ireland for training the coaches. It needs to be, you know, a kind of greater information, understanding, awareness at community level, and for everyone involved, you know, so kind of going through those different I suppose facets and influences within society to kind of drive that. But yeah, just on, I suppose, kind of the way Gina was speaking about the confidence piece, and then we kind of moved to the wider sphere. I'm really interested in that kind of social determinants, you know, of physical health, mental health, and we mentioned, I suppose, money, access to facilities, but then looking at, you know, a simple thing this morning, cycling my kids to school, and nobody does that here because there's no infrastructure. You're on the paths, you know, and it takes maybe 3 minutes to cycle. We often walk, but the kids, I have, you know, 4 and 5-year-old, they love to cycle, and it's kind of a big barrier for them to be active in a different way to get to their place of education. You know, a simple thing, I suppose, like that, having a cycle lane on wide roads, and then you're looking at, yeah, your built environment too. So things like, do you have access to green spaces nearby to practice that outdoor activity? You know, we spoke about the money. So if it's something you kind of do perhaps with a group yourself and get to a park and do some body weight exercises in a group, you know, that's all kind of free and easy. But if you don't have access to that, then that's not possible, you know. And I suppose wider things again, like air pollution in cities, and yeah, access to that kind of clean air, I guess, is a huge factor that we're not always thinking about.
It's really good, Sarah. A lot in that, so thanks for sharing that. Any final thoughts before we move on? Are we happy enough we covered the barriers piece? Yeah? Yeah? All good. The next one is, what are some simple ways to add more movement and activity to our daily routine or weekly, whatever it looks like to yourselves? So what are some simple ways to add more movement maybe into our day? Sarah, will I start with yourself this time? Sorry, put you on the spot again.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
A simple thing that I've been doing recently, and I think which, you know, a lot of people could easily do, is having kind of walk-in meetings. So I would get my, you know, my work phone, and if I'm chatting to somebody, just instead of doing the Zoom, face-to-face is nice on Zoom, you know, when you can't actually reach that person and meet them in person, but having a walk-in meeting where you both say, listen, I'm heading out for a stroll, you'll do the same, and it's a really nice way to get a bit of movement, and you're kind of, you know, you're more kind of alert as well, I think, when you're on the go and chatting through things. You can solve a few more problems and come up with more solutions maybe in that environment.
Definitely, it's a great idea. Walk and meeting, and just you're out in the nature, you're out in fresh air, you're getting a bit of activity, so it's a win-win really. So really good, Sarah. Thanks. Gina, I'll go to yourself.
I started doing that during the pandemic. Yeah, like just kind of like getting the phone, because, you know, I suppose we were all so much more conscious of how far we couldn't walk, and suddenly then we were all walking. Yeah, so walking and talking. But I did notice that I had to actually not do all my walks on the phone, because I was almost losing the benefit of just being in touch with nature. So maybe a little bit of a balance. Like, yeah, I found a bit of a difference. But it's great. Or sometimes I go out and like, instead of staying in the office, say on a work call, yeah, I'd bring the phone out and actually just stand out in the garden or that, like, you know, and just like even pick up a few weeds while you're talking on the phone, like. So but what I was going to say then was about yeah, like taking the time, I suppose, to find what you enjoy, or if you can't find what you enjoy, maybe what you have the least amount of resistance to or the most amount of curiosity for. So, do you know, like, because sometimes, like, you know, and I've been in that place myself, maybe where my mental health was kind of impacted, and I just didn't have space in my mind for thinking about things like this, like, you know, or it actually felt like a burden to be kind of trying to increase my exercise or that, like. So even though I know I would get benefit from it, you know, but so even if you try to just kind of maybe what do I have least resistance to, or more curiosity about, or more openness to, bringing a friend along if you're in that frame of mind, or that, like, you know, that because I know, like, say there's a friend here, like, and she'd say, no, we'll go on for another little bit, you know, we'll walk on further, so it's great, or, you know, and then I might encourage her on another day, and then a little cheeky kind of a little cheat that I found for myself was to get dressed for my exercise class first thing in the morning. So, you know, because sometimes you can kind of almost talk yourself out of it during the day, or you can get a bit busy and things like that. So yeah, just kind of cheat by getting dressed for it first thing in the morning, and then you're ready to go. So it doesn't matter what happens, just get out the door, you're ready.
That's great, Gina. I like just to being curious, or curiosity around exercise though, because I'm sure there's stuff that we like or think that we might like to do, but it's just trying it for a while, or a couple of sessions or whatever it may be, and just, yeah, I like that, being curious about it and just giving it a go, really. So yeah, that's great. Emer, I'll go to yourself finally.
Yeah, I suppose, like, adding really to what Sarah and Gina have already said in terms of how to add movement, and one thing that I've really tried to do the last, I suppose, year is, my two children are more involved in activities now themselves, and I found initially I was like dropping one and coming home, I'd only be home and I'd be back again picking up. So what I've actually carved out time, I should say, for myself, is that to use the walking track that's at those locations, and go for a walk then for myself. So rather than spending the time in the car over and back the road and giving out that I'm over and back the road, that I'm actually going, no, do you know what? This is my time. So I'm dropping you here and I'm going to use the next 45, 50 minutes to go for a walk. And I can walk then whatever pace I want. So if I'm in a day where I want to walk fast, that's what I can do. If it's a day I want to be a bit more mindful and just to have a leisurely stroll around and listen to a podcast, then that's what I'll do. But I suppose I'm giving myself that time and giving myself that permission. And then I remember years ago somebody saying it to me, that if you were looking to get more steps in the day and you live in a 2-story house, or it doesn't matter, even in a bungalow, that rather than trying to bring everything in one go, that you broke it down into loads of little loads of wherever you were moving it at, so that you'd have to go up over and back a few times just to kind of add in those extra bits of movement into your day. So it's always stuck with me. So I do try and do it every so often when I remember it.
That's excellent, Emer. And I like just, I know you're talking about going back and forth to the trainings, whatever it may be, but you kind of made a plan there to kind of get activity in. And just, that's really good example of getting it in when time is tight as well, maybe. So yeah, I like that. Happy enough with that question, or will we move on again? Yeah, perfect. Emer, I think you mentioned this about motivation earlier on. So what advice would you give to someone who struggles with motivation and maybe find it hard to get going with maybe any sort of activity or movement, and maybe stops and starts or whatever else? So Sarah, I might go to yourself. I'll come back to yourself in a second, Emer, if that's okay. Sarah, would that be okay?
Yeah, sure. Again, yeah, I find motivation really interesting, because I think depending, and I don't know if the others will agree with me, but on your personality, you know, and maybe perhaps the way you were brought up, I'm not sure, but it's that kind of internal, or whatever they call it, intrinsic versus extrinsic or external motivation, you know, what you're motivated by. So is it, for me, it was definitely, you know, rewards, praise, and finding out then, kind of going back to maybe the physical activity and why am I doing that? You know, I know we spoke about that earlier. So why am I doing it? Is it for me, or is it to kind of gain that external, you know, reward, or praise? I don't know if that makes sense, but I suppose acknowledging maybe how you're motivated or what you're focusing on, and then switching it to the better one, which is like the one internally for fun and enjoyment, like we've spoken about, you know. So kind of maybe just looking at what motivation is, I guess. Yeah.
That's great. Just the why piece is really important. Just why am I doing this activity or movement piece, or yeah, just figuring it out from there, really. Because if we know that why we're doing it, I suppose we'll enjoy it more, because it becomes part and parcel of the day then, and you look forward to it as well. So That's great, Sarah. Gina, I'll go to yourself next, just on the motivation.
Yeah, so yeah, I think that's really interesting what you're saying there, Sarah. Like, yeah, like thinking about the why, like, so and then like if it's like, I suppose, yeah, just thinking like, is this something that I want? Like, you know, because sometimes you can kind of, again, I'm all about the resistance. What is there a resistance in me, and what am I resisting? So what is it that I'm resisting? Is it because, you know, society says that I need to get out more, and like, damn it, I'm not feeling it myself, like, you know? Or is it like, you know, that you know, my confidence, like, I'm just not feeling like, you know, that I will look good in, you know, whatever, or that I'll be able to do, you know, the activities. So just looking at kind of, where is the resistance coming from that I'm feeling? And like, if the benefits are not, you know, and your ultimate goal, if they're not outweighing that resistance, then it might indicate that it would be good to explore that further. Like, you know, and you might want to maybe talk with a coach, or that, like, you know, a life coach, or, you know, because there's so many different types of coaches out there, and they would have, you know, particular kind of specialities around like physical exercise, for example, or, you know, kind of getting to the root kind of causes. And it's usually down to our kind of beliefs, isn't it? And like the beliefs and that we've kind of carved out for ourselves over time, like, you know. And so literally we can be getting in our own way and not even realizing it. So maybe going deeper with kind of trying to understand what is my personal block, and can I do anything to shift it somehow?
Really good. The personal block, I like that. I'm just kind of trying to figure it out, journaling or kind of talking to someone or whatever it looks like for the person. That's great, Gina. Thanks for that. Emer, I'll go to yourself.
Yeah. So yeah, I suppose it's just really following on from Sarah and Gina. I think like motivation definitely can dip or be really good depending on what it is you're doing. So you really have to find that activity that you enjoy, not that what people are telling you should be doing, but what you will get enjoyment from. And it mightn't be, you mightn't have the confidence to be out and about going for a walk or going for a run or joining a team sport. So, you know, like there's a lot of those, and I know it's costing money, which we said can be a barrier, but I know I've seen them in like little, like some of those like stationary bike pedals, you know, that you can secure on your floor at home, but it's getting that movement in at home, just to build up your confidence with knowing that you can do it. Or maybe if it is that you have a stairs in your house and that you don't have any major mobility issues, that you're walking up and down it, just to build up your kind of resistance, I suppose, with it. But it's really then finding your comfort level. I think it's always good if it is something that you're going to, like whether it be a class or you're going out for a walk, you know, if you have like a buddy that you're doing it with, and that, you know, it's somebody that if you're, you know that I'll actually 3 out of the 4 times I go, I'll always be motivated to go, but it's always that one day I talk myself out of it, or I'm self-sabotaging, that you have the friend that will go, no, we're going. And then the days when you're always feeling good, you'll be that friend for them. And I think that can be a real key piece in keeping your motivation around activity.
That's great. And it's the accountability, I suppose, to it. It's really good just so you have someone to contact or go for a walk, whatever it may be, just to push you from time to time, because we can dip in motivation or energy levels or whatever else. So yeah, that's great. So thanks for that. Any final thoughts before we move on to the last question? We're flying through the questions. We're nearly coming close to the end as well. So
I just wanted to kind of come in there, yeah, motivation. It's nice to, because it's such a personal thing. You know, we hear motivation, it's like a personal responsibility, but it's kind of nice to step back and think, okay, I might not feel motivated because, you know, the things we've spoken about, I might not be enjoying it. That's one piece. I might not be connected. That's another piece. And then, like, you know, do I have control over what I'm choosing to do? You know, so if we kind of bring it away from the self and kind of look at the bigger picture, it's nice to think about it that way too.
lovely. Thanks, Sarah. Thanks for that. The last question I'm going to throw out is kind of something similar to what you're saying there, Sarah, is what one piece of advice would you give to someone looking to start some form of activity? So maybe one piece of advice for someone watching or watching the recording after this as well. Gina, I'll go to yourself. That's okay first. But one piece of advice.
Okay. It's so hard when somebody says to pick one thing, isn't it? So, okay, I'm going to pick one thing, and that would be to kind of just maybe start looking about like what's available to me. So just kind of start looking what is available to me, And it would be remiss of me to not include here that in my area, I'm lucky to support an initiative Mental Health Ireland supported the integrated exercise practitioners. And so they are actually available for anyone who's using the mental health services down in the Wexford and Waterford areas, the Wexford Waterford mental health services. So it's somebody that works on the team within the mental health services to see like exactly what we're talking about. Is there anything kind of, you know, that mind-body connection? What physical exercise could I get involved with that would support my mental health? So it's a really amazing offering, and it's they have expanded now. There's another service up the country, I think South Dublin or West Wicklow. They have an integrated exercise practitioner as well on their team. So that's just something I wanted to just say, that, like, you know, so obviously it's not everywhere, but it's good to see that exercise, that mind-body connection, is starting to really kind of grow now within the mental health services as well. So, but then, like, say, other things that people, you know, everybody might have access to a local GAA pitch that has a walkway around it, and, you know, we can grab a friend of a Tuesday evening, here we go. Or like, are the sports partnership offering like free classes in something that you might want to try out? For example, you're not sure, will I take up Pilates, won't I don't know, but let's go along to the sports partnership kind of 3 weeks of it and try it out. Like, so find out what's available to you, I'd say.
Brilliant. Thanks, Gina. Emer, I'll go to yourself.
Yeah, so just following on from what Gina said, like, around the find out what's available to you. Maybe if you have that like lack of confidence in going, seeing, will a friend come with you to try out the activities for that 2 or 3 weeks? They may not continue, but it might give you the confidence to keep going because you've gone and tried it out. And I suppose just remembering that what's for someone else isn't necessarily going to be your activity of choice, and that's okay. It's about what's finding what you enjoy and what you like doing, and that what you know you're happy to keep doing, rather than that sense of like, I have to do it because this is what everyone else is doing, or this is what I've been told I can do.
Really good. It's a sustainable piece of it as well, to enjoy it and to continue it long term as well. So that's great, Emer. Sarah, finally.
Yeah, that I mean, I think Gina and Emer have kind of covered it, that, you know, building habits, it takes time. So just to acknowledge that and to start slow and keep the consistency going. I think learning what's available in your area is really key. Things like park run, you know, they might not be accessible for everyone, but they are in a lot of places. And I think if all that fails and you want to do something, maybe try it yourself. You know, I remember I had my first daughter, and I was wanting to go into the sea, but I obviously couldn't leave her. So, you know, it was that kind of thing of like, how do I get a group of mothers together and, you know, organize a little meetup so we can both take turns, which worked quite nicely. So, you know, those kind of things you can always forge your own path too if it's not there for you, and who knows what'll come of it.
It's great, Sarah. I like that example. Thanks for sharing that one. So we're coming close to the end now. I suppose we are all development officers working, I suppose, around the country really with Mental Health Ireland. So I'll get Sarah, Gina, and Emer just to share about the Hello, How Are You campaign, which is our national campaign happening on the 15th of May. So basically, there's lots of events happening in Galway, especially Gina's area and Emer's areas, and my area as well in the Midwest, Clare, Limerick, and North Tip. But I'll get them to explain their events to whatever's upcoming in a second. But I think, Gina, you've been a part of the campaign for the last couple of years. Well, and I suppose Sarah and myself and Emer are new in the role as well, so we'll be your first campaign. But basically what it is just to kind of have more open mental health conversations, and just open and honest conversation around mental health. So as you see, the banners behind Sarah, Gina, and Emer is a Hello framework. So thanks, Sarah. So it's a lovely campaign. I don't know, Gina, do you want to come in on it, because you've been there previous years, just to explain a little bit about it, and even just the events that may be happening in your area? That'd be great.
Yeah, so really it's just a very simple way of having more meaningful connections in our communities, and creating just opportunities for that. So, you know, if anybody watching is in a role, or, you know, has capacity to arrange an event, they can go on to the Hello, How Are You website, and I suppose you can get all your ideas there. But there's groups across was every county in Ireland that will be putting on something. And I always think, like, make it work for you and your group. Like if you're a walking group, well then why don't you do a walk and talk, like, hello, how are you event? Or if you work in a citizens information centre, maybe you already have people coming in and out, and it would be easy for you to do a little information table and, just have a little chat and a cup of tea at the information table. So make it work for your group or your organisation. The Carlow Mental Health Association is in my area, and they actually brought Hello, How Are You to Ireland. So every year they always have a range of different events on, and really kind of embedded in the community. Wexford Mental Health Associations in my area, and again they kind of they like to go out to different rural kind of, or more rural, should I say, parts of the county as well, and make it a whole county affair. So the libraries are great, the sports partnerships and family resource centres, I'm afraid now I've started listing, but all the different community groups and all the rest of it, all kind of put on different events, and it's just to have more meaningful conversations. You can go onto the Hello, How Are You website and find out all the list of events. So anyone that's running an event is popping it up there, and then you can see what's happening in your area, basically.
Brilliant. Thanks. I was going to mention that as well, just on the website as well. You will see a map of Ireland, really, of different counties, of what's on in each county as well. So it's lovely to see that. And just they're starting to populate, and more events are coming up as well. So thanks for saying that, Gina. Emer, do you have any additional thoughts on the campaign or any events coming up first?
No, I think Gina's done a really good recap of it all. As you said at the start, this is my first one working for Mental Health Ireland. So it's been a great experience. I think it's a fantastic day to have. We all ask the question, hi, how are you? But like, we ask it and move on so quickly. So it's really just giving it that space to really check in with somebody, to check in, see how are they, hello, how are you? And it's a brilliant way of bringing communities together as well. So in my area in Sligo, Leitrim, like, there's some coffee mornings going on, there's an information stand, we're having a creative writing piece in the afternoon of the 15th, and there's a well-being morning as well with Pilates and yoga and lots of tasty coffee and treats as well. So I mean, it's such a great event that really lots of different events can fit right into the framework. It's not you can only do it one way and that's it. And I think that's the real key of why this can be such a successful event.
Brilliant. Thanks, Emer. Sarah, will I go to yourself next? And I'll just fill in then on the last few bits of the webinar. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, I suppose I don't have much more to add, only that, again, like Emer said there, I'm really excited to be part of it this year for the first time. You can see, once things start getting going, how much people are engaging with it after they kind of learn more about it, So in my area in Galway, the Tuam Mental Health Association and Galway Mental Health Association are holding events. So one is kind of public in Tuam, and the other is a private one in Galway for the people using mental health services there. They're doing a festival in a van, which is sounds really fun. And then just to mention Thrive. So Thrive Connemara, it's a community-led movement really to create healthier and happier communities. So Thrive was brought to Ireland in 2021 by Mental Health Ireland, and it's there really to promote mental health and well-being, and brought to Connemara last year. So we're kind of trying to create as many events as possible over the Connemara region. So it's quite vast, as everyone knows, but there's 8 planned already. So yeah, once they're registered, I just encourage people to check out the website if you are anywhere near that area or know anyone in the area to go and get involved.
That's brilliant, Sarah. Thanks a million for that. And again, it is the website really that has all the information on the register your event page, just stuff that's coming up around the Midwest with Clare, Limerick and North Tip. The Wellness Cafe in Ennis will be happening on the Monday, the Rush on the Tuesday. There is West Limerick on the Saturday, and on Thursday there's West Limerick again, and then Tipperary, and then Limerick City as well. So there's lots going on. So again, look at the website. All the information will be there as well, and sure, you can find out all the information on it. But just to wrap up, I just want to thank Sarah, Gina, and Emer for coming on the webinar this afternoon. It's just a great discussion. Really enjoyed it, and hopefully the attendees enjoyed it as well and took something away, because I definitely did. Learned a lot. And yeah, all this recording will be up on the Midwest Area YouTube channel and the podcast as well, the Wellness Panel, so people can follow up again on it. And just thanks to Midwest Areas for the ongoing partnership on the webinars. And yeah, I think that's it. Any final words, Sarah, Gina, Emer, if you want to say goodbye, just as for more information on Mental Health Ireland is the mentalhealthireland.ie website. But I think if we're happy enough, I just want to say thanks to everyone and thanks to the attendees, and plenty more webinars coming up every month on the Midwest Series website, where you can book on Midwest Series Eventbrite page and the website as well for Midwest Series. So keep an eye out for that as well, for their events as well. So any final words before we go on the panel?
Oh, just thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank
Perfect.
you.
Thanks a million. See you all soon again. Thanks a lot.